Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock on Saturday the 19th of February. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. It's a deceptively pretty looking morning this morning. It's very, very cold and has been pretty much all week. Shocking weather this week. We'll talk about that once I get settled in the cabin. Lots of sleepless nights, wondering whether I was going to get any damage, storm damage down on the land. Was a bit worried about the beehive, but that's still there, and obviously a bit worried about roof on the cabin and the garden room. Had I not removed the polytunnel the other week, I'll guarantee you it would not have been here today. But anyway, as I say, we'll talk about that later. For now, let me get in, get opened up. Definitely need some heat on, and I'll catch up with you all shortly. Number one priority of the morning is get a fire going. It is damn cold. As usual, first things first, sort the chickens out. You would think they'd never been fed. They're going absolutely crazy this morning. Absolutely crazy. I've got some greenery for them later, because it is the weekend after all. It's a bit cool out here to be messing about. So let's get in the chicken coop, see if they've left me any eggs this morning, get the food and water topped up, and we can get in the cabin. Right, let's have a little look and see what's in here. Expecting lots of mess, which there is. You see, they have got food in here. It just makes such a drama. Took the lid off the food container again. Don't know why they keep doing that. We'll get that topped up. It's a bit of light on here. See what we're doing. Nothing. 2, 4, 6. Nothing. I cleared out on Thursday, so I'm not expecting millions. I will have to do this clean up later on, but let me get the eggs out and then we'll go and get some coffee and a bit of a warm and a chat. Just having a quick run round the boundaries while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil. I was worried about this beehive, but it's not moved, thankfully. I had visions, you know how you lie in bed at night worrying. I had visions of the beehive getting blown over. I don't know what these bloody rabbits are looking for, digging these damned holes everywhere. It's bitterly cold out here. Might not sound like there's a lot of wind, but there is, and it's damned cold. I can see a few trees down in this little wooded area. Thankfully the big ones are all still standing, but there are some casualties. Don't know if you can see the branches up there. There's loads of little branches down here. There's a sizable yeah, look, that's broken off, which is quite a sizable tree. We need to have a session with a chainsaw at some point and get these cut up into little logs. Quite a bit of rain last night and quite a bit of rain during the week, to be fair. If you can see there's some standing water. This is definitely the place to dig out a new pond, but not now. Loads of little branches scattered around, which I'm going to have to get cleared out at some point, otherwise I'll be running over them with tractor. I think I might do that once I've had my coffee. Just run round and pick up the strays that have landed on the field. All in all, to be fair, given the size of the storms that we've had, I am surprised that we haven't had some of these big ones down. Very surprised, but thankful. I don't really want a huge tree down on my field. Yeah, everything else looks okay. The main thing that did worry me was the cabin. I was worried about the roof, really worried, because it was severe. I'll talk about it when we get the coffee. I've had a lucky escape, I think. Just watching the birds. They're all hiding from me. Right, let me get inside the cabin and get that coffee. Well, good morning. It's the weekend. And it's a bloody cold weekend. Got my notes. We've had a bit of a wild week with weather this week, hence the thumbnail. We've had storms, Dudley and Eunice, and there's another one on the way. No clue what that's called. But it seems that there are a variety of storms of different types and descriptions all over the world right now, not just limited to the weather. We'd start off with the weather, because it's certainly been having an impact here in the UK. I was down in London for a couple of days this week. This new job of mine means that I'm working from home, which might sound good, but actually it isn't. You don't have the free time that you might think you would have. And my working from home isn't permanent Monday to Friday. I am doing a couple of days a week away from week to week. So I was in London for a couple of days this week. The weather's been bad anyway. It's been a mixture of rain and sleet. But these storms that rolled in this week have really taken the toll. I was heading back on Wednesday late afternoon, and the train, it's an express train. It normally does 120 miles an hour, and we got about halfway through the journey and it suddenly slowed to a crawl, and the announcement came over the tannoy that the reason that it slowed down to a crawl was because of the wind. That particular stretch of the line was through quite open fields for miles and miles and miles in either direction, and of course the wind was whipping across, and they were worried that it might impact on the train. So it took a lot longer than usual, but really it's Thursday and Friday that the storm really took hold. So last night I was watching the fence panels in my garden at home bending and bending and bending. There's a small tree in the garden that was almost bent double. And as I came in this morning, I noticed that the two fence panels in my garden, they're definitely damaged and need either repairing or replacing. I had a call, family member, they've got some 40-50 foot conifer trees in the garden. One of those had completely come down into the neighbour's garden, and two of the others are damaged. So I spent a bit of time talking to tree surgeons with a view to, once this weather's died down and it's got back to normal, to getting those sorted out and cleared away. And I think really that all of those trees are just going to get cut completely. As I drove in this morning, the small back road that I use, there were several trees down. I did take a couple of pictures. Doesn't really show the scale in those pictures. I'll pop them in. But yeah, trees down. A power line was down across the road as well. And you'll have seen earlier I did a walk around. There's a few bits and pieces in the wooded area that's down, but nothing major, thankfully. We've got 200,000 homes in the UK still without power because of the storms, and we had winds, recorded wind speed. The maximum one that was recorded yesterday was 122 miles an hour. That's a big wind. It's a big wind by anybody's description. So it will be a bit of a short video today. I'll not be down on the field for very long. I certainly can't do any work on the polytunnel. It's just pointless even thinking about trying to start putting the new frame up. We are forecast 91% chance of rain again today. Thankfully right now as I speak we don't have, but it is coming, and because of the damage to the fence in my garden and of course the trees in the family's garden, I'm going to be a bit busy this weekend looking at those problems and trying to resolve those. So not as much time here as I would normally have, and I don't think I'm going to achieve much outside of the cabin shack today. Others, my chickens are alright, I'm okay, and thankfully I was really having sleepless nights. Last night in particular, I did actually have a dream that the beehive had fallen over and was in bits on the floor, and I was concerned about the roof of the cabin and the garden room. But touch wood, all is well. I'm really pleased I did get that polytunnel down, because that would have definitely gone for a fly across the field last night, guarantee that. So storms does make you think, and should make you think, because we have no control over that. The weather is the weather, and we are at its mercy. It's very, very easy nowadays to have storm damage affect your property, your house, and very easy for storm damage to affect the grid, predominantly the electric grid. You might remember last weekend I was talking about power cuts. I lost power for several hours last weekend, and the weather wasn't as bad then as it has been this weekend. There are definitely people in this area that are without power, because I've seen the power line across the road. So our first-hand experience, I know that there'll be houses here without electric, and who knows how long that power will be out. So if you don't have any backup solutions, I would suggest that you seriously look into having some backup power solutions. You'll know here at the cabin I've got a variety of off-grid systems. I've got solar, electric. Wood stove today, bitterly disappointed. There is no draw despite the wind. So I've reverted, you can hear it in the background, I've reverted to the diesel heater to put some heat into the cabin. I have also got, I don't know if I've showed you it or not, I've got a portable gas heater in the old side of the cabin. Bit pointless using that now, but it's there as a backup, and if I did, God forbid, lose heating in the home, I could always use that to get me out of deep duty at home if I needed heating. So yeah, think about weather storms, how it might impact on you, and get some backups in, even if it's only very small scale backups. You can get portable solar for recharging your phones and your laptops and such like. You can go upscale a little bit, power your fridge, and for heat there are millions of different types of small portable gas heaters. So have a little think about it if you haven't already. In terms of other storms around the world, there are loads, but I'll kind of focus my attention on three. Off the back of COVID, which has totally disappeared now in Europe, but there are some countries around the world that are still clinging on to that COVID control that they've gotten used to over the last couple of years. Canada in particular has made the news. And the only reason I bring it up really is to demonstrate what can happen in terms of government overreach if we're not careful. In Canada, for those of you who have not been looking, there have been massive protests against the COVID control measures brought into place in Canada. And what was a small group of truck drivers has turned into a huge movement, not just in Canada either. It's gradually been spreading to other parts of the world where people have got fed up with all of these extra control measures, quite draconian control measures that have been brought in by government over the last few years. The pushback from the Canadian government, and it's surprising really, because when you look at countries around the world, Canada historically has been the most liberal, left-leaning government on the planet. Their legislation and laws in those countries around the rights of the individual have been huge, and you would imagine that Canada would be the last place on earth that would start getting extremely dictatorial with its population, but they have. They've gone kind of power mad, and off the back of COVID brought in massive restrictions on personal freedoms and liberties. And since the truck drivers' protest and the pushback from the population on these government mandates, they've gone even more draconian. They've become ultra right-wing fascist, in fact. Over the last week we've seen a state of national emergency declared as an excuse to bring in more stricter control on people's personal freedoms and liberties. Protests have been banned, people's bank accounts have been frozen, things like online fundraising, GoFundMe and crowdsource, things like that had been raising money to support these truck driver protests, have now been blocked. People are being fined, people are being called terrorists for protesting. And this has been very, very peaceful protest. It's not been like the left-wing Antifa movements that you've seen in America over the last few years, where people have gone looting shops and supermarkets and burning buildings and having running battles with the police. There's been none of that. This has just been peaceful protest. Yes, they've disrupted traffic flow in cities, but nothing against the general population and nothing designed to cause people harm. So it's been strange, very, very strange to see how governments can do these power grabs to the degree where people are protesters, are being labelled as terrorists, and people's bank accounts have been frozen because they contributed financially in support of these protests. So a storm of a different kind, government overreach and control and restrictions on personal freedoms. Quite bizarre and very worrying, because other governments will be looking at this and thinking, can we get away with that kind of overreach, even though COVID has gone? A couple of other little storms, big storms, currently raging in different parts of the world. Financial markets and the economy, again, we've seen big dumps on the financial markets. Stocks and shares plummeted this week again. The cryptocurrency markets collapsed again this week. It seems that the scene is absolutely set now for this financial market crash and almost depression. It's definitely lining up now. I will be stunned if we don't see that over the next couple of weeks or perhaps months, to the degree where we do see mass unemployment, we do see people's finances being massively impacted, more than they have been already, and that's quite hard to believe. So yeah, get ready for that. If you're not already taking care of things like personal debt and setting money aside ready, again, I would urge you to do that. A market crash and a recession, it's already here in all but name, and that is certainly going to get worse as we go through this year. Kind of related to that and being used as an excuse for that by government is what's going on, this storm that's going on right now in Ukraine. Again, if it wasn't so serious, it would be quite laughable. Western governments have been going into overdrive now for a couple of months, saying that Russia is going to invade Ukraine. It's happening soon. It's happening in the next week. It's happening on Wednesday. And then when it didn't happen, last Wednesday, oh, it's still imminent. And it's only a matter of time before it happens. I've talked about this in previous videos as to how we've arrived at this place where we are now with Russia and Ukraine, so I won't delve into that much more in this video, other than to say we've seen these moves by government, these distraction techniques by government, and these efforts by government to create a problem to solve a problem they've already got. And my personal opinion, take it or leave it, this has deliberately been engineered as a distraction from the serious state of the economies in Western world countries now, which they're deliberately designed to try and do fund generation to stave off the inevitable economic crash that we are going to face. It is a despicable move by government, in my humble opinion. They shouldn't be doing this in the name of the ordinary people, and they are doing it in the name of the ordinary people. They're saying, oh, it's to protect you and to protect your country. It's not. That's bullshit. It's designed to try and protect the politicians from the inevitable crash that they've created themselves and the backlash from the public when that happens. They need a boogeyman. They need something to generate more money, so to get those money printers back in operation again. And my fear is that by deliberately manipulating this conflict in Ukraine, it could all go horribly wrong, and we could see a real, it might be small scale, but a war is a war, and it does affect people, and people do die. I suspect that they're pushing as hard as they can for a war, a real war in that country. I pray that it doesn't happen. I pray that Russia doesn't take the bait and start actually firing shots. The media now is telling you that they're doing that. Again, I don't buy that. I've seen the pictures. I know what a tank shell does to a building when it hits it, and that beautiful round hole that has been displayed in a nursery school wall with zero burn marks. The power is still on because the lights are on. That's fake. I don't care what anybody says. These are fake pictures being promoted as being, well, one, it said artillery shell. Well, artillery shells come down, they don't go sideways. Then it was changed to tank shells. It's bullshit, it's fake, but it is all designed to get real bullets, shells, mortars flying in that country. I pray it doesn't happen, but this is deliberately been manipulated by Western governments, and shame on them for doing that. And don't do that in my name or my country's people's name. It's despicable. But unfortunately, there are enough gullible sheep people around to buy into this propaganda, and we could, if we're not careful, end up with a proper war in that country. Now, while it might not affect us here in the UK, we won't have bullets flying around. I have talked in previous videos about consequences. War comes with quite severe consequences, even if you're not in that country, and we will feel the impact in some shape or form here in the UK, and for our American cousins that are watching in your country too. So fingers crossed it doesn't happen, but it seems like Western governments are going into overdrive now, and there will be dubious things being done by Western actors in those countries undercover, to try and socially engineer this. So it is a concern. So watch out for that storm. There are lots flying around in the world. Those are the ones that are of biggest concern. Don't go into a state of fear over this. Rather, think carefully about what you can do yourselves to insulate yourselves from the consequences of any of those storms that I've mentioned. Hopefully it won't all end in the way that Western governments wanted to in Ukraine, but it might. So just bear that in mind. Whatever storm it is, the actual response from yourselves should be pretty much the same. Prepping is prepping, doesn't matter what you're prepping for. All of the things I've described have common factors, so think about replacement or substitute power, heat, light, cooking. Think about your food and water supplies. Have you got stuff stocked up or not? If you haven't, do it. Think about the economic consequences of any of those things. So get yourself in a good place financially. Try and restrict your spending on non-essentials. Try and get yourself out of debt. And form a group of like-minded people that you can rely on in times of crisis for a bit of support and assistance. Anyway, chickens need feeding, they're greenery. I've got a couple of small little tinkery type jobs here to do, but I've got other stuff away from the cabin and the field today that I need to do, so I really ought to get cracking with those. So apologies for the lack of content in today's video. I will try and put something out tomorrow, but mutual support. I'm going to go off today and do my bit for other people in terms of mutual support. So wherever you are, wherever you're doing, please do stay safe and well. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch up with you later. Well, it wouldn't be the weekend without the greenery for the chickens. They do enjoy it, and as usual, well, little red one gets spoiled. Watch my fingers. Oh, we've got two of them now at it. How long before they start squabbling? There you go. Why is the bit near my fingers always the most attractive bit? They are funny. They are funny. You would think that the red ones would get along together because they're the same breed, but they don't. This one bullies the other one. Fortunately, there's plenty to go around. Right, you're going to have to fend for yourself. I've got things to do. There you go. Well, that's it for today, I'm afraid. very short video for you. Apologies for that, but I've got lots of stuff to do away from here today. Hopefully I'll be back down tomorrow. I guess it depends how I get on with the help I'm going to provide for other people. We shall find out. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please do stay safe and well. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch up with you shortly. Well, that's it for this video. Apologies for the lack of content today, but I am going to be very busy helping other people out. Let me know what you think. All the different storms on the horizon, which one do you think we should be most worried about? Rephrase that, not worried about, preparing for. Let me know in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.